So let's go ahead and talk about socialist history in the U.S. and ecosocialism in terms of the U.S. history, where it came from. So this part shouldn't take a whole lot longer. Let's call it, hopefully another 30 minutes or so. So thanks for hanging in there. So now that you've got a background on socialist versus anarchist and that sort of thing, debates in history that agreed on the goals, but not necessarily the ways to get there, right? A lot of that influenced U.S. history, as well as you kind of had our own socialist currents that popped up on their own within U.S. society. So you saw the formation of many socialist and communist parties in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, as a response to things like the Gilded Age, as workers were more oppressed and in poverty and just not getting help from the government. In fact, they were being oppressed by the government. Some of the earliest police forces, like we were saying earlier, some of the earliest were slave patrols. But then second after that, they were formed to put down union strikes during this era. They were there to protect capital. They were not there to protect workers. So you had a lot of worker movements come up, and socialist and communist parties that came up to try to help organize the workers. One of the most successful, of course, was the Socialist Party itself, that kind of formed from a few smaller parties that had existed before then. And it's kind of the high watermark in U.S. history in terms of how successful it was at electoralism and working with kind of workers' unions and all. At its high point, it had thousands of people elected across the country to all levels of office, thousands in local office, in state legislatures across the country, and even had a couple of Socialist Party members in Congress. So it was really getting a lot of attention. Eugene Debs was one of the most important figures of it, or most visible figures, I suppose, who ran for the presidential ticket several times to draw more attention to it. And Howie Hawkins, in the book The Case for an Independent Left Party, essentially argues that one of the reasons it was so successful is because it unlike many other parties, committed to a dues-paying membership structure so that the working class could fund itself. It didn't have to rely on wealthy donors and things like that in order to support its own activities, to support strikes and running its own candidates and things like that. And by committing to independent politics with this the membership structure, that was what enabled it to be so successful.